Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won.
Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none.
And by union what we will can be accomplished still.
Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none.
Welcome to the virtual sanctuary of Neshoba Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Sarah Osborne, Director of Religious Exploration and Seminary student. I am so glad you are able to join us this morning for this online service. Today is a special service as we begin the new church year. We will be featuring segments from our Neshoba families, religious educators, and the children and youth of this beloved community. They will be showing you how they fill their buckets with joy, with art, with laughter, and meditation. So let us settle into this moment with a deep cleansing breath. It is good to be together in spirit. Our opening words of prayer are by Reverend Gretchen Haley, entitled, On Claiming This Time for Renewal. Though you have been warned and given plenty of explanations, reasons to do otherwise, you have persisted to claim a life of joy and justice and to carve out this time for renewal of your own heart, despite the din demanding your attention, luring you towards fear and cynicism. You persist with gratitude for this day, this life that has been given, this chance to begin again, despite all the forces of fragmentation, the disappointing ways we fail each other, fail ourselves. We must refuse to let grief undo us or let our dreams get lost along the way. In spite of all the evidence, we keep showing up the edge of our own longing, and then we keep going, remembering this duty we have to life, in a greater sense, this duty we have to each other, our children, and their children. This hope that is also a choice we make, this promise we fight for, to persist in kindness, persevere in compassion, and prevail in a life that is bound entirely to love. Come, let us worship together.
Today for our Chalice Lighting, we will be reading Spilling the Light by Reverend Teresa Soto. Some people are used to keeping the rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules is not the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping bright lines, to keep our promises to what we have promised ourselves, to the moment in time and place, and this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that each and all of us are human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that cannot be tamed and cannot be measured. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside of us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shredding the willingness to journey alone as though you were made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only open possibility that the future is the space for growth. We light our chalice for all of us. May we cultivate the light so that it is so great that it may spill out to all those who need its warmth. Now, if you will join me in reciting the affirmation of covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
The Invisible String by Patrice Karst. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet evening. Suddenly, it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up. "Mommy, Mommy!" they cried out as they ran to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just the storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "But we want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Mom said, "You know we're always together no matter what." "But how can we be together when you're out here and we're in bed?" said Liza. Mom held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what Mom was holding. "I was about your age when my mommy first told me about the invisible string." "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. "You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love." "But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone you love." When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way along the string until I feel it tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts, said Jeremy. "Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?" Liza asked. "She sure does," said Mom. "And best friends like me and Lucy?" asked Liza. "Best friends too." "How far can the string reach?" "Anywhere and everywhere," Mom said. "Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean?" asked Jeremy. "Yes," said Mom, "even there." "Or a mountain climber?" "Even there." "A dancer in France?" "Even there." "A jungle explorer?" "Even there." "How about an astronaut in space?" "Yes, even there." Then Jeremy quietly asked, "Can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven?" "Yes, even there." Does the string go away when you're mad at us? Never, said Mom. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and can't agree about things like what movie to see, or what game to play in the back seat, or what time to go to bed. Oh, that's right, you two should be in bed. And with that, they all laughed as Mom chased the twins back to their beds. Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was still making the same loud noises outside. As they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, and all the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they could clearly see no one is ever alone.
Now is the time in our service where we share our morning offering. I'd like to announce that Alice was here with me until about take 5, and then she went on to do more exciting things than listen to her mother stumble over her words. The children, Kendra and I, have been busy this summer exploring our shared principles and sources through art and Legos in our weekly Zoom classes. We thought you might like a sneak peek of what your generosity sustains. In the upcoming weeks, you'll be receiving an invitation to a virtual art show celebrating the completion of our second summer program, the Principled Creation curriculum, and the talent and creative skill of our Neshoban children. Creating art is a spiritual practice within itself, and while I could talk at length about the creation of this curriculum, I feel the kids do a better job of demonstrating this idea with their art. The Principled Creation curriculum is Neshoba written and tested. With the larger liberal religious education community forging new ways and paths for children to engage in our shared Unitarian Universalist faith, it will be joyfully shared in hope that it can help other congregations engage in continued faith formation. If you feel moved and are able to give, please do so by using the link provided momentarily. As one of the RE teachers whose calling is sustained by your generosity, and also as the mother of one of our brilliant, starry-eyed Neshoban children, I wish to thank you. You are helping us raise engaged, spiritually curious humans in the present. You are also affirming the future of not only our church, but Unitarian Universalism as a whole. Thank you. And please enjoy the sneak peek of the art you'll be soon invited to view in our virtual art show.
Good morning. My name is Nix. Welcome to the meditation portion of our service this morning. Deep in the forest, I strolled to hear the wisdom of my soul. How do you fill your bucket when you are bombarded with so much going on in our world? Everything has become so divisive, even the basic questions of humanity. Living in such uncertain and often gut-wrenching times takes a toll on each of us and often in different ways. Finding ways to fill our proverbial buckets is perhaps more important now more than ever. We all have different ways of coping with the stresses of life, and my family wanted to share some of ours. At a time when traveling isn't really an option for us, we have taken to the local roads to gather inspiration from nature and some of our favorite familiar places. A long drive with the radio up and the windows down. Sometimes those stressors set free right out the window, settling softly amongst the earth that they can't haunt. Gavin and I are moved by the journeys that we take. His focus is more on the music, while I need the music, the wind, the sights, and the escape. Gavin prefers to drive past the places he holds close to his heart. Most often, those are the theaters that he lives and breathes. I look for trees, for water, for life amongst nature, for inspiration, for reassurance. Beckham likes to fill his bucket by playing video games online with friends and at home with his brother and mother. He enjoys our drives so long as the Wi-Fi comes along. This morning, we're sharing a few of our favorite places with you in hopes that you can smile at a familiar place or relax in the calm of the nature that we have sought. People travel to wonder at the height of mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motion of the stars, and they pass by themselves without wondering.
It's here. The new church year begins now. Normally, I'd be gleefully welcoming our children and youth with new curriculum plans, a ritual to mark the occasion, and a blessing for our religious exploration staff and the congregation as we recommit ourselves to the good work of Unitarian Universalism. And yet it hardly seems like a time for renewal. For the last 6 months, we have all been waiting and waiting in our homes, trying to keep ourselves and others safe. We watch the news and see the growing fear, animosity, and ugliness. And if we look harder, we also see acts of love, kindness, and generosity. I've been wondering, how do we make sense of all that 2020 has brought us? And I see the polarization of fear and love is strong in this country. Just last week, when the Commercial Appeal ran a news story about the University of Mississippi football players and coaches deciding to protest the brutality of police rather than play a game, I was impressed with their courage. And so I clicked on the comments section to see if others were equally pleased and to leave a comment of my own. Beloveds, have your friends warned you not to read the comments section? Well, I ignored this warning, and let me tell you, I was so dismayed at the negativity, hatred, ignorance, and blatant racism of others' comments. I thought about walking away and not posting anything, but perhaps one of those college kids was viewing the thread, or maybe their mama was. So I simply wrote, "Good for them. Our young people will lead the way." Days have passed, and I'm still getting negative comments, like kids are going to ruin this country. You're an idiot, or you must have hit your head. One commenter agreed with me and said her son was among the team and she was proud of the young people. A few years ago, I probably would have tried to argue with these fine trolls, but that would just lower me to their level. Instead, I've taken the approach of curiosity. I empty myself to the wondering, what drives a person to be so hateful? When I watched Michelle Obama give her speech at the Democratic National Convention a few weeks ago, she said, "Over the past 4 years, a lot of people have asked me, when others are going so low, does going high still really work? My answer, going high is the only thing that works, because when we go low, when we use those same tactics of degrading and dehumanizing others, we just become part of the ugly noise that's drowning out everything else. We degrade ourselves, we degrade the very causes for which we fight. But let's be clear, going high does not mean putting on a smile and saying nice things when confronted by viciousness and cruelty. Going high means taking the harder path. It means scraping and clawing our way to that mountaintop. Going high means standing fierce against hatred while remembering that we are one nation under God. And if we want to survive, we've got to find a way to live together and work together across our differences. The former First Lady issued a fine challenge that evening, and I've been considering it ever since. How do we go high? How do we have the strength to find a way to live together? How do we uphold our UU values that every person has inherent dignity and worth, even the person who says, "I'm the idiot"? We take the hard path. We choose love over hate. And friends, let's be clear, this way can feel overwhelming. How do we keep on doing what is just and merciful? How do we fill our buckets rather than become empty wells? At my mother's funeral, Reverend Beth reminded me of a story from Tuesdays with Maury about the ocean, that when the little waves fear crashing, they simply need to remember that they are part of something bigger, that they are indeed the ocean, that the waves return again and again. A Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Enlightenment is when a wave realizes it is the ocean." I believe that holding onto images like the waves in the ocean can sustain us to a degree. A therapist I spoke to once told me about the practice of kenosis, an act of self-emptying that might help one develop a sense of curiosity and perhaps be the starter ingredient to becoming a better listener. This makes me think of our proverbial bucket, that not only do we need to fill it, we also need to spill it. to rid ourselves of the stagnant sludge, to make room for life-giving water. We need to kenosis our buckets. What does spilling our buckets look like? I think it might mean admitting that sometimes we're not okay. That the bucket of water we're swimming in is too much for us to tread. Perhaps we need a life preserver or a rescue party. Maybe that means asking for help, seeking out practices and professionals who can give us the tools to get through the moment. Spilling our buckets is an act of vulnerability and a step towards healing. And once spilled, once there is room, that empty vessel is ready to be filled with goodness, with joy, with hope. But let me caution you, just as a person finds an oasis in the desert, or you've returned to health after a stomach illness, you have to take baby sips. Fill your bucket slowly, intentionally. And for each of us, filling our buckets is going to look different. There's no perfect one way to do this, and it's not going to be easy. And maybe we accidentally knock our buckets over once in a while and have to begin again. And maybe we spill water as we try to fill our buckets. It's going to be messy, and that's okay. It's a never-ending process, to filling ourselves up. In Buddhism, mindfulness practices are common. Sometimes this looks like meditation. And for those of us who struggle to meditate, I'll suggest a different word: presence. What would being present look like and feel like? What if for a few minutes each day we just sat with our feelings and let them flow through us? What if we sat in the backyard and took our shoes off for 15 minutes to feel the earth underneath us? What if we spent 5 minutes thinking with gratitude for the ability to simply breathe? Being present each day is a drop in our buckets. And what if we gave ourselves the grace to seek out pleasure and not feel guilty about it as a way to fill our buckets? Author Adrienne Marie Brown, in her book, Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feel Good, offers pleasure principles and practices. Use meditation as liberation, she suggests, downloading the app Insight Meditation and using it 1 minute a day. She also recommends practice pleasure in your own body and life. Notice what brings you a yes to your lips, to your center. Make a pleasure journal. Put signs around your house to remind you of your pleasures. Please yourself and please others. Don't let your body or your heart forget why we fight. To feel aliveness and togetherness. And she says, find the ease. There are aspects of this life that are an uphill battle, and we seem to be still on the ascending portion of that long arc bending towards justice. But we can sustain the struggle if we can find all the ease available to us, the places where we can flow together, coast together, and rest. Filling our buckets contain these things, saying yes to those feel-good things, finding joy and ease in community, liberating our minds so that we can be gentle with ourselves. I asked our Neshoba religious exploration colleagues how they and the young people they serve fill their buckets, and they responded with the elements of this worship today. Through technological wonder, art, laughter, and moments in nature, they remind us of the joy that can be found in this community. Our beloved community is here to help us fill our buckets, whether it is to be a soft landing pad, a source of mirth and reverence, a cohort to commiserate with that sparks your motivation to keep on keeping on for one more day. This community is an acknowledgement that you are seen. Thank goodness for this community, for technology and art and nature and good people who send us notes saying, "How are you doing? I know this is hard. I am with you." As we begin this new church year, as we come here with weary hearts and minds, let us each fill up with the goodness of life. Let us bless one another with acceptance and care, and may we be renewed with joy and the simple pleasures of life. Amen, and blessed be.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call